our rain garden. And I think everyone knows what a rain garden is. Some of our plants here are boneset and swamp milkweed. And this is a New England aster. And all of these are shining blue stars. The purpose of a rain garden is really to slow down the water. We get these big gully washers now. Big flooding rainstorms. So it captures the water. It filters the water. And it allows the water to go into the soil and reconstitute the soil. Rather than just run off into the creeks and fill up the creeks, which fill up the rivers, which flood all of everybody downstream, we want to slow it down. This plant is a heath aster. You'll see these all over mid-central Missouri and beyond. This is really a keystone plant that's important as the last pollinator plant that's going to feed. If you can zoom in on that little hoverfly. Down below, little signs. Are they for adults? Are they children? Take your pick, but we are little by little adding more and more little signs for children. So this is a native habitat garden. Here is a very unusual looking bee, or is it a fly? There he is. So he wants the most yellow part of the flower. When the center of the flower turns brown, there's not a lot of juice left in there. So he's going to keep hopping from flower to flower that has the very most yellow centers. So this is our habitat garden. How that So we've got purposely logs in here where little animals can overwinter or protect themselves. This is a very important plant in a rain garden if ever you set one up. These are marshmallows, not marshmallows. Various signs of all native plants that love water. So that's all the plants that are here. This is an important plant right here. This is a verbena. And it's autumn now, so all these seeds are going to drop and create more of those plants. We've got buttonbush here. And we've got pink New England aster here. Lovely, huh? And this is really important right there, those little seeds. And we have a pond here. So let's take ourselves all the way over here to look at our water feature. I didn't fill it up with water today, sorry. We do not have a liner on it, and maybe in the next year or two we'll do that to keep the water up. But it's a frog pond. No fish, just frogs. And it's surrounded by rushes and sedges, which are also really important plants that you'll find all throughout the wetlands. Sedges and rushes are really good plants that just never die. They're very hardy. Let's go to our next garden, which is, look at this beautiful sign here. The next garden is a pollinator garden. As are these purple asters, which are again called New England asters. The leaves are especially interesting. The leaves kind of have a cup shape right along the stem, and very few plants have that. I don't think any other asters have that either. But that's one way to identify an aster, and there's a million asters, as there are a million black-eyed and brown-eyed Susans. These are brown-eyed Susans. They're little tiny, they have lots of branching stems, as opposed to the black-eyed Susans, which are taller, more lengthy, and fatter around. And it's autumn, so we're not going to see quite as much as I'd like, but this is a classic plant. It has lots of, we have cut the tops off of it, but there's plenty of seeds. It's called a liatris or a gay feather. And they're all kind of sticking up here. The pollinators. Pollinators are bees and wasps and flies and beetles. And you can't forget the hummingbirds and bats. I don't see a lot of bats here, but we do have hummingbirds. And there's, of course, butterflies and moths, which are the most beautiful, which is what people really want in their yard. The other keystone plant for springtime is this one here. This is called bee balm or bergamot. And you can see the tiny little holes at the base of each petal. Each bee has a different length of tongue. And this is good for the average bee that has a short tongue, because these flowers are not that deep. And so their tongue can go to the bottom and lap up all that nectar. As opposed to like trumpet vines and trumpet flowers that have big, long tubules as flowers. That allows the hummingbird tongue to go way down into the flower and lap up that juice. So here's some more bee balm, aster, and this is aster, heath aster again. It's not a good example, but it is what's left over from river oats. And if you ever, here they are. These are oats, and these seed very easily. And they love being wet. They can take dry for periods of time, but it's good for a wet area, because back behind here is wetland. It's the Dardenne Creek backwater, actually, that used to be the Dardenne Creek. So a lot of water is being shed way off these plants and runs downhill into the creek. Another blue wild indigo is a great plant for pollinators, as is the tall goldenrod. So right along this side of the garden is what I call a wall of asters and goldenrod, because they're just the iconic flowers of fall. Look at the seeds on him. That's beautiful. It's like cotton. Yeah. Okay. So much for the pollinator garden. And we've got a pollinator garden because insects really are having a difficult time. You know, pesticides are so pervasive now, and they're taking a toll, and I think the statistics are that worldwide now there's a third less insects. So everybody needs some kind of pollinator garden in their yard these days, and a rain garden to slow down the water. So what we've tried to do is give the average homeowner from subdivisions ideas of what to do between you and a neighbor as a privacy fence. Tall, wild, kind of prairie plants. And again, we've taken a lot of the seed heads off of these willow leaf sunflowers. You'd never think this was a sunflower, but it is. So a lot of the meadow plants, there's a certain romance with this. When you're walking through a jungle, you know, you get a certain feeling of like discovery. It's kind of like you're on TV on those kid programs in the morning. And we've got some sneezeweed here. Let's push that up a little bit. And we've got tall coreopsis, which you'd never know because we've harvested the seeds already. Okay, and we've got lots of grasses. So these tall feather grasses are called Indian grass. And these are a little more bunched up here. This is it over here. And we've got all kinds of seed heads that are classic fall seed heads. These guys here. This is an Illinois bundle flower. And all those little things, these are all seeds. And maybe you want to take a look. Once you're in the meadow, you come to this classroom that we've built in the middle of a meadow, and the overlook here is what's really spectacular. This is a backwater now of the Dardenne Creek. It's usually filled to the brim with water, and in spring you'll see egrets and herons, and it's deafening the sound of leopard frogs. There's no less than 150 leopard frogs that just, I mean, you need earmuffs, it's so loud. But that's what all those egrets and herons are looking to eat. It's a beautiful habitat. And here's a wall of cypress trees. Take note of that. That ends at a big old cottonwood. That's probably a 150-year-old cottonwood. You know, if you're from Missouri and you're a naturalist, you got to know Aldo Leopold. Google him. He was a naturalist from the 1900s, early, I guess he died in 1945 or so. But he designed this type of wooden bench. Standard benches are tippy. And he's got the angles of the sides so that it's really a secure bench. Really solid. You're just not going to fall over backwards or any of that. Not side to side, not wobbly. Really heavenly. I invite you to come back in spring and summer, and you can really experience the full scope of what's going on here. And it's not just to look at, but it's to feel and to smell and to look for bugs too. Because there's a lot of little details that the average human just isn't gonna discover something interesting as a story to tell. So take it all in. Spring, summer, fall, even winter. We have special things that we're gonna put together over the winter. So that's all, folks.